Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there, so please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money, so check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks.
Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try to make your world a little weirder. I'm Niall.
And I'm Kyle, and I'm so fucking excited. People told me I couldn't do it, okay? People said there's no fucking chance in hell that you could pull this off. And I said, hold my beer. And they did.
Honestly, one of your catchphrases at this point. Something
I've been saying that
time
for so
and time
long.
again.
Yeah, all the time. I have continued to improve on my own formula for the best chocolate chip cookie. I'm riding on a high right now because I just baked the best batch of chocolate chip cookies I've ever made.
Okay.
That's what I'm coming to this episode. I don't know what it is. There's two things in life that I am dedicated to the pursuit of perfection. We all know perfection. It can't exist. So this is a lifelong pursuit. These are 2 points that I will always be aimed at my entire life. Okay? Perfect scrambled eggs, perfect chocolate chip cookies. And the egg department, that's new technology is developing there all the time. I've been experimenting, doing all kinds of stuff. But chocolate chip cookie, that's one where it's harder to experiment because you're baking, right? And everybody is like, well, baking's a science. And I said, no, it's not. It's baking. But I see your point. It's less experimental, right? Well, I've been adjusting some things. I've been doing a little work, and I am telling you, you and Jules, if I wish I could hand feed you, if you could sit before me on your hands and knees.
Of course, as we tend to do when we hang out.
I take one of my tender little chocolate chip cookies and I hand feed it to you. You would both be like, "Thank you, sir. May I have another?"
No, I do think, I just want to point out something here.
Yeah.
You were talking about how baking, people say, no, that's a science. And then you made it seem like the fact that it's a science means you don't do experimentation. When I thought like the core tenet of science was doing experiments.
I think, you're right. And I think that when people talk about baking as a science, what is sort of implied by what they mean rather than what they say is that you can't really change the formula up that much, which again is not very scientific, right? So this is why I'm saying, see, and you and I, we're on the same page. That's why I said baking isn't so much a science. It is an art form, I think. So is cooking, but cooking's a little less, but that's my point. So yes, experimentation is there, and that's why, maybe it is a science, but the way people are saying science when they talk about it is wrong because it is experimental.
I think it's just another aspect of our modern anti-scientific culture.
No, that's
and people should just go back and realize that it's all just chemistry, baby.
I think that my big takeaway is people don't really actually know what science is, myself included. And that's I think, I mean, that's really the big note to take on this conversation just now. Also, here's a suggestion for everybody out there. Don't roll your cookie dough into little balls. Make them loose clumps. You're going to get a better texture.
Okay.
So
was that your tip. What was your change this time? Was your change?
That was one of the changes. I also changed a little bit of the ratios because I have a couple different recipes and I was like, I like what they're doing here and I don't like what they're doing there. And then, of course, this is also vital for a chocolate chip cookie, and this is something that my roommate started doing, and I was like, you're right, this is perfect. And I said to him, your passion for making these cookies reminds me of like a scientific vigor. And then we had this whole conversation, me and him, about science and baking, and it was stupid as fuck. So but ever since he did this, I've done it to my cookies now too. So I owe it all to him. Some fucking French sea salt on those things.
Sure.
Just a little
Gotta
sprinkle.
Be from France.
Well, I guess it doesn't have to be. Sea salt is the key.
Now, do you get like big flaky stuff, or do you go with like crystals, or are you a diamond person?
I've used the flaky. I think that the crystals are a bit like, the thing that I was using was a like a grinder type mechanism, whatever you would call those. So that's what I use, but it's like nice fancy sea salt.
Okay.
Anyways, this has been here's the thing. Everything I just said, the bakers of the world have known for so long, and this is me discovering it all for the first time. So I'm just very excited about it.
Yeah, I think the excitement's palpable. I think that it really brings an energy to the show, and honestly, the energy is also in the fact that you just made cookies and ate them, and those things have calories, which are also energy. So like,
that's true.
I think that's it's all comes back to science is what I'm getting at. What I'm coming back to. It's just it's so scientific, and this podcast is entirely science based. And never deals in conjecture or anything unscientific at all. Okay,
I'll co-sign that. And it can't possibly come back to bite me.
Not at all.
In any way.
No. So, speaking of science and scientific research, I do have some stories for us today. I'm playing in the UFO space, which of course is the most scientific space you can play in.
I mean, funny enough, kind of one of the more scientific spaces you can play in. It depends on your framing of these different things, but I have run into people who are actually trying to do science related to the phenomenon, but it's kind of hard, right? Just like by its nature. Did I what?
Did you hurt him?
Hurt him? What did I say?
When you ran into him.
Yeah, I trampled right the fuck over them, and I backed up and I said, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." And they were like, "It's okay. I'm a UFO guy." And I was like, "That is so convenient for me." And then we had a whole discussion, and they alluded to the scientific progress of UFO research to baking, and I said, "That's interesting." And I sort of followed from that line with them, got in this whole discussion.
All right.
So
I mean, and honestly, the confluence of UFOs and baking is the pancake bakers from outer space.
That's true.
So, like, I guess honestly, that really should have been what I was talking about today, but it's not. Kyle is doing this really fun thing where whenever he isn't talking, he's twirling the ends of his mustache as if he's a vaudeville villain, or a vaudevillain if you're an NXT fan, and it doesn't really read on mic, so that's why I'm describing it here.
I don't know why I did it other than to provoke you.
Yeah, you keep like really mugging while you're doing it, and it did give a reaction. So I guess it did what you were intending to do.
I don't look at myself much throughout the day, and so having the camera on and glancing up and seeing my own face, I'm realizing I have this beanie, headphones, these thicker rim glasses, and like I'm growing my mustache out for my Halloween costume this year.
Yeah,
I wouldn't normally have it this long, but when it is,
you're going as a 2009 Brooklyn hipster.
That's what I'm realizing. Is I kind of look like a
fixie bicycle around and carrying an IPA.
I'm a barista. This is I can't really, I don't know, people out there. I'm sorry that this is, but this is what I've ended up looking like, and it's maybe the funniest I've ever looked. So I'm sort of seeing myself and being able to do the mustache twirl is extremely funny to me because I kind of think I look stupid.
Meanwhile, I look
normal.
Surprisingly orange. It's really some lighting in here is really coming off red today, and I don't exactly know why. I swear I'm not like, because I look sick. And that's not. I don't believe that's the case. Yeah,
sick like badass.
Anyway,
well, try string up some colored lights. Like I used to have like purples and oranges and stuff, and people on the Twitch stream would be like, Kyle with the bisexual lighting, stolen valor. So put up some sort of lighting that indicates a sexual preference, and that could be
Well,
fun.
what's
too.
fun is I literally have purple string lights on right now in this room
That's
that I'm in.
confusing because you do look orangish red. And
I look
so-
very orange. Anyway, enough talking about the thing that no one listening to this can see. And instead, we'll talk about some UFOs that they're unable to see as well.
I do love UFOs, so
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
And Kyle, not only are these UFOs, but more specifically, mostly today, other than one case that delves outside of this, we're talking about 1960s UFOs.
Okay.
So, which to me is primo. To me, that's kind of top shelf.
Fucking 1960s, anywhere in the 1960s, that's a great fucking year for UFO stuff. A primo vintage.
So not only is it a primo vintage, but it's also all in Brazil. So today we're heading down to South America. We're gonna hang out in Brazil and talk about some UFO cases, mostly from the 1960s.
I'm gonna ask an ignorant question. Mm-hmm. Was Antonio Villas-Boas, that was in Spain, or was it in South America? I don't remember.
I believe that's in Villas-Boas is in Brazil.
That's what I thought. Maybe
Argentina.
You know what? I'll find that out. But you go ahead.
Yeah. So we're gonna start with the earliest of the cases that I'm talking about today, which is in 1963, which is quite early.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just reporting back. 1957 in Brazil. I only bring it up because that is the South American, like as far as early UFO cases. That's also like not long after, I want to say, Betty and Barney Hill, and it's an abduction case, but it's the UFO. It's one of the UFO cases that just like it won't go away, especially in the sort of regions I'm researching. So it's just a very interesting one, and it always it's whenever I think about UFOs these days, it
looms large.
It looms large.
However, these are a couple, as far as I can tell, kind of lesser known UFO cases, because what's cool is I have actual like stuff from the reports of UFO organizations at the time. There's not a lot of like follow up on these years later, It's mostly the stuff that happened around the time of the case, and then not a lot has really changed since then.
I don't know if you're going to get into it this episode, and if so, kudos. I'm excited, but I don't know if you remember, we had a Brazilian listener email us about the bloodsucker UFO.
No, not that one. I'm not doing that one. I now that you say it, yes, I had forgotten about that.
I actually tracked down some info on that, and it's in my big list of cool things to talk about at some point. Some of it was on non-English speaking internet. So listeners in Brazil, if you know what I'm talking about here, I can't go get the name of the thing right now, but eventually I'm going to do this. People will probably know what I'm referring to here. There is a case about this UFO that like had a beam that I think could drain blood from people, is the story, and it's the coolest thing I've ever heard. So, I wasn't sure if you're going to get in that, but I that's another one that is like that, speaking back to the mailbag, white whale. That one's a white whale, but that one's more realistically going to happen sooner rather than later. So
yeah, no, this one we're going to start with what's colloquially known as the Sagrada Familia UFO case, or there's actually a documentary that I believe is entitled like Brazil's Cyclops. An extraordinary UFO encounter or something like that. I looked up and I might end up watching the documentary at some point. I didn't have time for it this week, but there's like a full blown documentary that we could do a fuck your documentary on about this case in particular, which I'd be interested to see because it's kind of interesting. So, like I said, this took place in 1963. Now, the story really came out in mid-1965 when a newspaper called Belo Horizonte published an article about this case where 3 children observed a strange flying object in their own backyard in 1963. So the investigation and everything came after this newspaper got a hold of the story 2 years after the actual events. So we're really dealing with information from 1965 here. This was introduced looked at by a guy named Mr. Alberto Francisco de Carmo, who worked for a UFO association in Brazil called CICOANI, Kikoani, which is one of their major UFO organizations. I think I actually have what that stands for in another place in my notes. Here we go. The Civilian Center for the Investigation of Unidentified Aerial Objects. And if you translate that to Brazilian, it CICOANI.
Okay.
So that's one of their kind of main UFO organizations who handled the investigation of, I think, honestly, all of the cases we're going to talk about today. So that name will come up multiple times. So the actual encounter occurred on August 28th, 1963, between 7 and 7:30 p.m. local time. And the entire encounter lasted between 10 and 15 minutes. So it's a very quick thing. And it took place in the area of Sagrada Família, which I think is actually like the name of a large church in the area, but it's kind of also used as kind of the, I guess, neighborhood. It's in the city of Belo Horizonte, in Minas Gerais, the town, in Brazil. So the observers were 2 family members, Fernando Gualberto and Ronaldo Gualberto, and then a neighbor named Jose Gomez Vidal. So they are, I think, 12 years old, and then is the oldest, and then 7 years old is the 2 younger ones. So the Fernando's is 12 at the time, aka 14 when they did the research, and the others are 7. So how this all happened is Jose was over kind of hanging out and having dinner with the Gualbertos, and which is those 2 children along with 4 other siblings, all of whom are younger than them. So they continue down in age.
Of kids, yeah.
Yep. And right after dinner on that night, they went out into the yard to try to wash a coffee strainer with water from a tank located near their cistern. So they had like a big, like, I saw somewhere that it was a tank that used to be used for gasoline or something that they used to like collect water, and they were going out to like wash this coffee strainer that I guess was used in dinner. I didn't see a lot of specifics on what that was, and it's not really important to the story, but it's other than like that's the thing that brings them out of their house. But every article that you'll read about this thing talks about that being what they were doing, and because I'm not living in Brazil in the 1960s, I don't entirely know what that means.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Is this a normal practice? Like, is this a thing that people did? I don't know. So when they went out to do this, they went out the back door, and they noticed that the entire backyard was very well lit, but seemingly more well lit than the moonlight would actually suggest. As they went out to this old gasoline drum, Jose dunked his arms and head entirely down in it to get liquid out of it, and Ronaldo was the first to actually see the origin of the light that was illuminating the yard, which was this a spherical object that seemingly was illuminated from within. It had transparent walls, and it was floating motionless near an avocado tree located in front of and slightly to the side of the residence, approximately 5 meters off the ground and 8 meters away from the children who were witnessing this. They said that the sphere was approximately between 3 and 3.5 meters in diameter, comparing it to the size of the main room of their house. They said the sphere was then subdivided into like small squares, creating an almost checkered structure. In the upper part of it, it had an antenna that made like a V, and on top of that were some spheres and this like central vertical rod. And when they looked through it, they saw 4 people sitting on what looked like one-legged stools inside of this object. Yeah.
For a minute there, I was like picturing, I was sort of imagining like some phantasm shit. But then the stool people came in, and that kind of changed my vision and my mind of it. You also mentioned a gasoline drum.
Yeah, that's what the kids were going out to wash the strainer in.
Right.
So that was
Okay. Is that like a conundrum?
Yeah, it is.
Like a predicament
exactly
involving
like
a gasoline?
No, drum is just a thing that's another word for barrel in this instance.
No, that makes sense because it wouldn't be a predicament involving a canun, so that would be that wouldn't make sense. Got it.
A Canadian nun, a canun.
Yeah, canun, CA nun.
Yeah. I just saw just because you said nun, this went in my head. I saw that if anyone was waiting for this to happen, the movie Killer Nun was put on Shudder today.
Nice.
Letterboxd sent me a random notification. I guess because I put that movie on my watch list, and it just notifies you if you have premium, like whenever something goes up on one of your preferred streaming services.
It lets you know whenever nun-themed schlocky B movies are out.
Here's the thing. I had entirely forgotten I put this movie on my watch list. So when I saw the notification, I was like, why is Letterboxd telling me about a movie called Killer Nun? Like, movies go up on streaming every fucking day. Why was it sent? And I was like, oh, I put it on a watch list, so it pulled it. So I guess I have to watch. I think the reason I put that on a watch list, I think it's because it's based on the same historical events that the movie oh shit, what's the movie that's like banned in a bunch of countries that went on Criterion a while back about the heretic priest?
Oh, is it about what? Oh God, is it demons or something, or what's the?
Yeah,
I watched that movie. And
whatever the other one, that movie's called. With wow, I can't remember any fucking names today. Anyway, go watch Killer Nun. It looks pretty wild. So when they say the sphere was divided into small squares, I looked at various drawings and depictions of this thing, and the best way I can describe it is, you know how like when you look at a globe and it has lines of longitude and latitude kind of making these kind of squares and cubes around the surface of the sphere? It's basically like that. It's almost got like you're trying to draw this cube in Blender, and you have to make like all the vertices to make it fit, you know?
Okay.
And so it basically looks like that, but it's transparent, and there are 4 people just like hanging out in stools on it, you know?
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so they want to then go on to describe kind of, as you do, I guess, the appearance of these beings, specifically stating that of the people, the one seated in one of the back seats had a masculine appearance and was more robust than the others. Right in front of him, in the center of the sphere, sat what seemed to be a woman with long blonde hair pulled back. In the front seat was a man similar to the first, but thinner, who seemed to control instruments on a panel where there was a kind of television-like screen. The fourth man, quote unquote, which was soon to descend, sat on the left side of the girl in the center of the object. All of them wore a kind of diving suit, and their heads were wrapped in round, transparent domes or helmets. They were almost uniform in appearance, even in the garments. The trunks dressed in something brown. Below the waist, the garments were white until they reached the knees, from where they remained black to the feet. They wore, quote, black boots that left triangular imprints, according to the interviewees. Some of this is phrased a little awkwardly because it's literally a translated Brazilian UFO report, but you get the gist. They had like brown tunics and stuff, white pants into big black boots that left like triangular impressions.
Do they just look like humans?
That's the fun part, is that there's a reason why this is known as the Sagrada Familia Cyclops case, because one of the beings is about to leave the craft and interact with the children, and that son of a bitch is a Cyclops.
Sure. I really love this. Another reason to love the era of the 60s of contactees and stuff is like it's another very like sort of pure reflection of science fiction media at the time, where like They basically look like humans, but they have this one thing that we can do with makeup to make them look kind of not human, and that is cover their eyes and then put a cyclopean eye there. Like, it feels like very much like, well, the fucking guys on Star Trek. What the hell are they? Klingons. They're just kind of guys, but they've got the weird, like, ridge thing on their foreheads and whatnot. Like, we're working within the limitations of budget and special effects and stuff, and it turns out so is real encounters with aliens working within the same limitations. I don't know. I guess the cyclopean effect is a little more advanced than like a Klingon, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, there are. What's funny is the documentary about this case. The cover is this like really wild, like, it almost looks like the head is so shaped, like the head is so elongated and like has like one big eye.
I
and
think
like,
I've seen these things.
The face almost looks like it's like a yassified alien. It's really kind of weird with like how angular they made this thing's face. When I didn't, from all of the depictions of this thing in the 60s that I saw, it looks just kind of like a roundish head. Kind of an oblong round head with one eye in the center. But then this documentary from like 2022 or something,
God.
I forget exactly when it came out, but it's like this long fucking really like cheekbone, tapered top thing with one big eye up there. It's so different.
I'm looking at the documentary now, and they kind of look like a teal earthworm with a face.
It has a bit of an Earthworm Jim vibe, and I don't know why, because as far as I can tell, that wasn't the depiction that I saw before that.
I'm looking at some older depictions now because I'm curious, and they absolutely do not, like, the older depictions do not look like that. They look like humanoids with like spacesuits, really.
Yeah.
But
with just one eye.
Yeah. Exactly.
So then, like I said, so one of these beings is about to leave the craft. In a couple seconds later, these two luminous beams that were moving in parallel and were yellow came out of the bottom of this vehicle and came down to the ground. Between these two things, one of the men kind of descended. So it seems to be some form of movement. It's either like a tractor beam or whatever you want to call it for this thing to kind of be set down to ground level. He touched down very gently because of this. And as soon as he was on the ground, the man came up to the children, and Fernando and Ronaldo were honestly terrified, and stayed like glued to the side of the house, like didn't want to move, and seemingly like this is the thing that I couldn't fully discern, because a lot of the reports will talk about them feeling, there comes a point where they're like, they now were able to run back to the house, but it's never explicitly mentioned that they were frozen, whether they were frozen by fear or whether they were frozen by something that the alien was doing to them.
That is a weird omission. I wonder if it's a translation thing.
It might be.
Because you could go either way, really.
A lot of the stuff I was reading about this case was translated. So, there's a lot of things refer to the vehicle as a device. So you'll go through, and it took me a little while to like realize that when it says device, it's talking about the UFO, not about something that one of them is wielding. Anyway, so this
if they're afraid, but there's no weirdly translated section about a beam or whatever, it would maybe make me think that they were frozen in fear instead of being hit with the Mike Wazowski paralyzing beam.
Yeah. But what I love about this is, so the two Fernando and Ronaldo, the brothers, are fully seeing this thing and are terrified, and Jose is still just like face and shoulders down in the barrel, so he has no fucking idea what's happening, which. So this being has now descended and is coming towards Jose effectively, and they talk about this thing moving awkwardly. Like they said, he has a heavy cadenced walk, where his arms were dangling slightly away from his body, and kind of like swinging a little bit. So it almost feels like, you know, when like a bodybuilder works their shoulders really hard and they can't like fully get their arms down to their sides when they walk.
Yeah.
It feels kind of like there's kind of a lumbering thing with that as the upper body for this thing.
You develop a sort of baby man posture, really.
Yeah, exactly. So literally this thing is like lumbering over towards the cistern where Jose is like dunking his head in it. And he extends an arm out to Jose. And this is when Jose kind of realizes what's happening and is shocked and takes this gesture as a threat. And this leads Fernando to jump in, and so he can move. He takes it to jump on Jose Marco and throw him to the ground violently to keep the being from grabbing him. When Jose was, of course, still shocked by all of this, and without moving, the guy started to look at Fernando and then over to Ronaldo. And Ronaldo, at this point, is kind of trying to skate along the edge of the house to try to get closer, to get away, effectively. But he supposedly hits his knee on the corner of the house and, like, hurts himself and stops moving. All the while, so, like, we now have a guy descending down, not doing anything, just kind of gesturing once, and this causes Fernando to like throw his buddy to the ground and then the other one to go and hurt himself on the side of the house, all while the being is just standing there, like, it's not doing anything.
It's not doing, but I can understand the shock and fear of just suddenly there's a cyclops there, right? And regardless of whether or not this thing is good intentions, I could understand a bunch of kids being terrified of that.
Yeah. So they continue to kind of freak out. But as the thing continues to not do anything menacing, they seem to calm down a slight bit and are able to actually like take better notice of this guy. This is where you get the detail that he only has one eye. He was completely bald. Much like the other two men that were supposed men that were in the craft. His skin had a strong red hue, which is not what the fucking DVD cover looks like. No, that guy's blue.
And I have a question, actually. Do they wear helmets in your version of the story?
Yes. Okay. So they were talking about in the craft. It was talked about that they were wearing transparent helmet. Transparent helmet. There was a kind of antenna in the shape of a ring with a small pendant sphere. So they are wearing the kind of fishbowl space helmets.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is when the kids noticed the size of this thing. They say that he was over 2 meters tall. Most English translations will say these things were approximately 7 feet tall because the kids compare it to the size of the door inside of the house, and doors have a tendency to be either 80 or 84 inches. So it's approximated that the kids are saying that these beings were about 7 feet tall. It has one large eye that was rounded, dark, and did not have the white of the eye. It only has, instead of the circular pupil, Jose insisted that the center part of the eye presented only a darker horizontal streak. The eye moved frequently, and there was this dark protruding spot that the boys interpreted as an eyebrow right above this single eye. So, single eye, monobrow. No whites of his eyes, only dark thing with like a slit in the eye. So it's very strange alien eye. So at this point, all the kids are kind of away from that barrel. So this man then just sits on the edge of it, seemingly like disarming himself, kind of like trying to minimize the amount he's scaring these children, it seems like. And they say that the height of his head went well beyond the height of the cistern crank. So he's a tall motherfucker. At this point, Fernando tries to like kind of move around to the side and to get behind the creature. And he picks up a piece of brick that was on the ground nearby.
Uh-oh.
And he's quoted in an interview with the UFO research that he, quote, wanted to hit him. Fernando seemed to lash out in anger. However, right as he's about to try to throw this rock and brain the fucking alien, the man jumps to his feet, turns around to Fernando in rapid motion, and he, from a, quote, rectangular surface at the height of his chest, a jet of yellow light that then reached the boy's hand made it tremble momentarily and causes the brick to fall to the ground. So he seems to have some sort of ray in his chest that allows him to disarm the child.
A hand trembling ray.
Yeah, like,
okay.
I don't, who knows exactly the extents of this capability, but at the very least, it can cause a 12-year-old boy's hand to tremble enough to drop a brick.
Sometimes that's all you need.
It can change the course of a fight, you know? So you got to wonder at some point how many, you know how there's that like thing that people ask where it's like how many like 10-year-old boys could you take in a fight? Or like how many like 7-year-olds could you take in a fight? You start to wonder, did this guy does this guy think he could take like way more than these 3 kids, or is you know,
it's a tough philosophical. I mean, it's in the same sort of line of thinking as a dinosaur-sized chicken versus 10 chicken-sized dinosaurs. Which one would you want to take on? Would you want to take on 5 10-year-olds in a fight, or a dozen 6-year-olds? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a tough question to answer.
Yeah.
Also, my brain, whenever I hear cases like this, my brain always wanders to a purely speculative realm of like, what did gas masks look like in 1963? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like there's a number of stories of like humanoid contactee type stuff where you like, if you compare what they're describing to certain kinds of gas masks or like full body suits and things, it's interesting. There's nothing definitive there, but it is interesting. And I happened to look it up, and there was like a prototype smoke hood, quote unquote, that kind of could, like, you could kind of match it up with what they're saying, but I don't know. I'd have to do, maybe, I wonder if it would be possible to do like a alien description paralleled with the history of like protective gear. Yeah. I wonder if you could do that. That might be interesting.
Because we've had how many cases in recent memory where it's like there was like a fucking iron smelting plant down the road.
Yeah.
It's, you know, there was a shiny metallic alien being that someone saw nearby, and it's like that was just some dude in a smelting suit going to get lunch, you know?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, it not from like a perspective of like dismissing the cases or anything, but like if I want to see if there's any possibility of a terrestrial explanation, that's the kind of direction I like to look. And like, I know I've read some things about fake. There's some whispers in certain corners and in certain books of the internet and about faked UFO abductions in this area of the world in the late 50s, early 60s. So it's just an interesting thread.
And here's the thing. Luckily, this one's not an abduction.
Sure.
It just is an encounter.
Yeah.
So I guess that's like,
which is significantly different. So
yeah,
you know.
But hey, maybe it's just a botched abduction. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because like the thing is like all the stuff that this creature does, or this alien does, seems to be kind of deferential. It seems to be trying to not show fear or incite fear in these children more than it has to. And it is interesting to try to like grapple that with something else, like with something more human,
with an explanation that isn't alien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have the thing on its chest that shows does that jet of yellow light that will make your hand tremble. There's also when as this encounter continues, the kids get a view of the back of this alien, and they see that there's this coppered colored box attached to the back of the clothing that this thing is wearing. So there's also like some sort of thing on the back as well, which yet again goes to the idea
Yeah.
that this might be some sort of PPE. And yeah, so as this also continues going, the boy, the alien then also looks back at the craft, and it seems like there's something passing between the being on the ground and the one kind of controlling the craft. Like there's this look where I don't know if it's like a don't interfere look or what, but it seems like there's some sort of kind of passage of a message between the two of them. And at this point, the boys also notice that the crew members also only have one eye, so they all seem to be the same type of being. At this point, the being starts to talk in a strange language with a, quote, extremely thick voice, and with many gestures made with his hands, head, and eye. The man seemed... voice. I don't exactly know what that means.
Like he just drank some milk?
I think what it's implying is some sort of thick accent.
Okay.
Like it isn't speaking in anything in any language these kids understand, and even if it were, it would be kind of hard to understand because it has this kind of exotic quality to his voice that makes it difficult to understand. So it seems like as he's talking, he's trying to do sorts of gestures and pantomime type stuff to be understood by the kids who are now just sitting there watching him do this stuff. He starts to close a circle with his forefinger and thumb, and then started tracing circles in the air around it with the index finger of his other hand while speaking. He then pointed to the three boys and with some difficulty, they say, put his palms together and put his hands up by his head as if making a sleeping gesture.
What the
He then
fuck?
pointed at the moon, making another gesture, gradually raising his hands as if to indicate a flight in that direction.
Oh my god. The sleeping gesture is a little too human.
It's yeah, like
and even
all,
the pointing to the moon thing feels like a human thing too.
if
like,
Tex Avery were animating this, I would be saying, "Oh, that guy is saying where he sleeps.
he goes
is
to
on
Betty
the moon."
Bye on the lunar surface.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it feels like he's trying to do like some sort of basic gesture-based communication with these children, and I don't like the speech is forever lost to time. We have no idea what this thing actually supposedly sounded like or what it was trying to say. So we can only guess based on the gestures he's making, I guess.
It's very weird. It's a very weird thing. I always operate whenever I hear about encounters with aliens. I always operate under this assumption that if there are aliens, like let's say there's aliens out there somewhere, and then let's say that they're coming to Earth for some reason. I think that whatever they would be so devoid of characteristics we could understand. They would be so not human. That like can you? I mean, I guess it would be. I guess what I'm saying is it would be insane to me if there was another planet out there with like that could carry life, and it developed the exact same way as it did here and created humanoid beings. You know what I mean? Like it just.
I mean,
it's a wild idea.
That's one of those things that is one of those thought experiments that I can really come down on a couple ways of, because there's something to be said for the fact that if life were to flourish, it could in some ways follow similar paths on different planets, because that is the kind of conditions and the kind of bodies and structures and systems and everything that allow for life, because like life is so tenuous and so like fragile that there's only so many conditions that can make that actually persist. But
That's
also
true.
on the other way, like if you get in, that only feels like it's really applicable for like carbon-based life forms, because we're so this is why I come down kind of on either side of it depending on the day, because like there's a part of me that's like, well, yeah, it makes sense that some things would follow similar patterns to some degree because it's a thing that works, and you might different things fail, you start to see, you know, the stuff having some commonalities, because that's how you can survive. But also, there's such a vast expanse of possibilities that it seems wild that the only thing that works is bipedal humanoids.
Right.
You know?
For sure. And you'd also just, the other thing you'd have to think about, or at least I think would be necessary, is like, you'd have to think about something that evolved to the point where it could do interstellar travel to Earth. Like, and what a being like that could look like. Like, even if it's on the same path as humanity, it has to have gone probably past what humanity is.
Yeah, it's got what kind of being could climb the Kardashev scale? Like, you know, it's
tough to say.
It is.
I'm sort of guessing not a cyclopean Betty Bye on the moon guy. That's my guess.
I mean,
but, you know, I could be totally wrong.
It seems unlikely, but it also stranger than fiction.
That's
you know,
true.
I don't know. So at this point, the being turns and walks slowly back towards the vehicle it came in, along the same path that it already walked. And at this point, Jose Marcos anxiously asks Fernando, quote, "Will he be back?" Surprisingly, at this point, the man then turns his head towards him and makes several vertical movements as if to answer affirmatively to Jose Marcos's question. In the middle of this, the being then bends over and picks up a flower out of a flower bed that he was passing by. And when he reaches the point where he landed, he makes this discreet gesture, and 2 jets of light reappear, connecting the device to the ground. He then goes up those 2 lighted strips that he used to get in and out of the vehicle again. And he then is seen sitting back next to his companions. After this, the vehicle starts to glow again and silently ascends and heads off east and goes out of sight. So he seemingly took a flower with him.
I love that.
I don't know why.
I love that for him.
Yeah. And at this point, the kids then run back into the house, trying to get, to tell the matron of the house what happened. And at this point, Jose Marcos runs in and just immediately dives under the bed where he's hiding out of fear. Where the other 2, the actual sons of the house, talk to their mother and describe what had happened. Now, from her perspective, she was in the house, and all she saw really was a flash of light coming through the window, which confused her because their house was positioned in such a way that car headlights wouldn't really hit the window of their house. But she didn't really make too much of a deal out of it until her boys came in yelling about seeing a crazy thing in their backyard. So then there's one last little bit about this in the initial report. The father of the children was at the time at a neighborhood bar talking to some friends, and the mother sends a girl over to find him, and he comes home, and he is told the story by the boys of what happened in the yard, and he goes out to examine it. So he was able to notice on the dirt nearby where the kids say the craft had landed and where the being had landed, that there were several marks in the shape of a triangle in the path the man had made, according to where the kids said he walked. The depressions were quite deep, approximately 1.5 centimeters on the side, and this indicates that the being was quite heavy. And this is also where we get the fact that that his boots left these triangular indentations. So this is basically the end of the story, more or less. The dad does go out and look at these things. They see these indentations, but a lot of the neighborhood doesn't really believe the kids when they tell the story. However, there was a neighbor named Jamil who saw the marks on the ground on the night of the incident, and so they weren't entirely dismissed, but it was basically most people didn't believe them, and the kids then became afraid to leave the yard after the fact. So the kids kind of took an indignant attitude about this, and started to reply to people who didn't believe them with, quote, "They don't want to believe it. See, one day they'll end up seeing what we saw, and then it'll be proved we didn't lie." So they were really relying on the fact that the being claimed that he was going to come back at some point, based on the kind of passing thing that they had with him.
So was there a media blitz about this story? Like, did this make it to papers or even like television or something?
A little bit. So I mentioned at the very beginning that a lot of this didn't really come out until 2 years later in 1965, when a newspaper got a hold of the story and published it, and that's when the Center for Aerial Phenomena came in and did a whole thing. Brazilian ufologist Alberto Francisco de Carmo is the one who investigated the case. Now, there's a thing that I wasn't able to track down that I really would like to, where supposedly 40 years later, the same ufologist found a case in the same region of a cyclopean alien seemingly matching the description of these guys, however, without the suit. And I would love to find that case.
Yeah.
I'm going to look for it.
What the fuck?
I just didn't have time this time, but I did a quick cursory Google and was unable to find it. So I guess I have to dig into some Brazilian UFO archives to find it. Yeah. Let's see. Now there were a couple other things. These are some tangential things that I found on other sites. So that what I've told you so far is all from the initial report done in 1965 by the UFO organization, interviewing the people, talking to the kids, doing all of their on the ground research. Then after the fact, there are some like a couple little things. The same week of the incident, the boy's neighbor, Miss Zita Iani, observed a large UFO of the flying cylinder type with rectangular and illuminated windows floating above a nearby electrical station. There's not really much more to it, but it seems like they just are saying that there was a UFO activity around the same time.
Okay.
Even though it wasn't the same type of UFO.
Cylindrical, huh? Sort of cigar, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay.
And supposedly, when he was interviewed again 58 years later, Fernando Gualberto sticks to his story and has never changed the details of it and has told the same story forever. So, like, people, they at least believe Fernando believes what he's saying, even if they don't believe the case, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's a good one. I've never heard that before. In Cyclopean aliens, I'm sure it's come up on the show before, but it's not an alien type that gets thrown around super often. People like their aliens with two eyes. People like their aliens with human traits.
Yeah, and the more human you can make them, if you can just like change the color and like kind of make them a little cartoony looking, like a gray, people are much more happy.
Yeah, or maybe they have like a shining aura around them if they're like a star seed or something. Yeah.
What led me to this case, funnily enough, was I found a drawing that was a timeline of alien types that just has like years and different kinds.
You have to send that to me.
And I found this Cyclops in 1963, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Oh. All right, I got to go hunt. So then I hunted it down that it was a Brazilian UFO case from
That's
Sagrada
awesome.
Família.
Yeah, they don't. It's not a thing. It's a notable trait because it's not common. I have a similar document, but it is about UFO shaped sightings over the decades.
I have a thing like that as well. Someone was posting. I forget. There was some. I think it was one of the like kind of spam poster UFO accounts on Twitter was
reposting,
sharing
stuff.
A bunch of these things, and I tend not to like hype them up because a lot of them are kind of shitty. But it's not terrible.
There's one that
content.
I follow that like. I don't know how it's working behind the scenes, who's feeding it what to post stuff, but it posts a lot of fun stuff that I enjoy, and then every once in a while it posts like if you want to know who controls the media, ask who you're not allowed to criticize, and then it's like a guy with like the Star of David on his shirt or whatever, and we're like,
I think we might be talking about like the same account here.
I think we are. It's like I feel comfortable viewing that account even though it's filled with crap like that because I'm so used to the conspiracy landscape. But then then they'll also post like, oh, this is a fun image of. Oh, this is when people first saw the cigar-shaped UFO. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. What's funny is the thing that I was talking about is one of my white whales, which was the erosion doesn't exist. It's about electrical discharge mining.
Yeah.
That came from one of those
really?
accounts.
Oh, man.
And then the only place I've been able to trace it back to is like Facebook posts that have no sources or anything tied to it.
That's going to, ironically enough, require an archaeological dig online.
I honestly, you want to know, I might end up using that that search engine you sent me a while ago that kind of discards a lot of highly indexed stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think like that will help to weed out the Pinterest reposts and Facebook reposts.
Yeah. Hey, folks out there, there's some cool alternatives. Hang on a second. Let me really wax my mustache here and adjust my beanie and kind of adjust my thick-rimmed glasses here and just say there's some great alternative search engines online.
It's true. It's not just Ask Jeeves, you know?
Yeah. Oh, you're still on AskJeeves.com? You think that Butler fucking knows everything? That's just one guy. Check it out.
Yeah.
Go to gloob.gov. And check it out.
Yeah. We're going to do one more very kind of small account. It's actually a large, one of the most voluminous in terms of how many people saw it sightings I've ever found, but the details about it are incredibly small. So we're going to jump all the way up to 1982 and talk about the Morinau UFO incident. Does this ring a bell to you at all, Kyle?
How are you spelling this?
Morena with the umlaut, not umlaut, tilde?
Sure.
AO.
Okay. I'm trying to think I don't know if I know this, but go ahead.
So this took place on March 6th, 1982, in a soccer stadium known as the Pedro Pedrassian Stadium.
I think I do know this one, but keep going.
And the local team Operario were competing for the Brazilian Championship against Vasco da Gama. Mm-hmm. And so there were approximately 24,575 spectators watching this game. And even though not everybody saw this thing, it statistically makes, supposedly when you look up sightings, look up this sighting, they claim approximately 10,000 people saw this UFO. Which makes it statistically
one of the biggest,
one of the biggest UFO sightings in history.
So all this
now, what makes this unfortunate is that the sighting is literally just there was an object in the sky above the stadium, and people saw it for approximately 5 seconds. So here is as specific as we can get.
Okay.
During the first half of the game, near Gate 32 of the stadium, which is below where the scoreboard is, the UFO passed across this area above the scoreboard, and drew the attention of various people looking on. The object flew over the covered bleachers, which housed various television cameras and game narrators. It did not appear to be a rocket, balloon, firework, or even meteor, because it didn't have a falling trajectory. It seemed to have an actual flying trajectory. Mm-hmm. And as it was passing across the stadium, the UFO gained speed and altitude. It had various lights that were different shapes and flashing, as well as some smaller lights that were more steady. It remained entirely silent as the UFO crept across the space above this place. So there's no big engine sound or anything. It passed across for approximately 5 seconds, emitting strong lights and remaining completely silent. And there is like one photograph that I saw that you can see it in the night sky, and it looks like a flying saucer to me in this thing. It was from Play Car Magazine, which is a national sports magazine. So it was published with the headline, "The Day a Flying Saucer Landed on the Field," which is not true. It didn't land anywhere. But it did cross across the sky above this stadium. So it kind of puttered across, gained a bunch of speed, and then flew off really fast into the night sky. And let's see here. Professor Ascanio Bottini was among the people present for this event. From his vantage point, he claimed the UFO appeared to have 4 tubes, 2 above and 2 below, running in parallel with a bright light at each end. And after it kind of went off, they reported that there was a, quote, rain of flakes that UFO researchers to believe was, quote, angel hair, which is a rumored material originating from the sublimation effect of certain aircraft's fuel response to the air. So supposedly it was emitting some sort of fuel byproduct as it went across, and little, quote, angel hairs were raining down on people as it passed by. So that is legitimately the whole sighting. I do have some quotes and some documentation and stuff here of people that were interviewed about it. There's even like a documentary that I was on. It seemed to either be region locked or having been taken down, called like what did you see or something like that is the translation. That was linked on a couple of the sites I was looking at, but had, like I said, I was unable to watch it, but I might try to find another place to find that. But so here's just some reports and stuff about it. This is a quote from, let's see, reporter Paulo Nonato de Souza. "It's a flying saucer." Many people exclaimed this phrase in Campo Grande on Saturday around 8:30 p.m. when a beam of light oscillating in blue, lime green, red, and yellow colors cut through the part of the dark sky of the capital at a supersonic speed. In 1982, there was no adequate technology to reproduce something similar. So he is under the impression that this is something alien.
I'm looking at the photo of the thing now, and I mean, man, it's so tragic. There's not a better photo of this. Like I can see what you're saying, because it does sort of have a flying saucer outline to it, but any sense of detail of like how he's describing the what canisters with lights and stuff, you can't make that out at all. I mean that would be incredible to get a good photo of that, because that's a very, but I mean 10,000 people, that's bizarre. I definitely have run across this story before. And I do remember seeing an article that was like the day a UFO landed in a soccer stadium and being like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And then clicking through.
And I wish there were more to this story so badly. Like, there's one of the things that's just a fun postscript to it that I will say is one of the people who was there at the time that saw this thing. This was actually the beginning of the journey towards UFOs for one Ademar Jose Gaverd, also known as A.J. Gaverd, who is a Brazilian ufologist and editor of a British publication called Revista UFO, aka UFO Magazine. He's also the founder and director of the Brazilian Center for Flying Saucer Research and Brazilian director for MUFON. So this is like the origin story for now someone who is pretty like important to Brazilian ufology. And has he's appeared on the Globo Network, the Discovery Channel, and History Channel. He's traveled around the country. He's done all these things. So he's now like an acclaimed ufologist, and he was one of the people that was actually there the night this happened and kind of got intrigued into UFOs because of it. So that's a fun little thing.
Something like this, sort of like how I was saying before, with the history of protective equipment, like full body protective gear, would be interesting to run across the history of UFOs. I think if I knew more about the history of what was going on in Brazil in 1982, you could speculate more on what the fuck happened here, I bet. But regardless, it's a very strange, and having 10,000 people who can say they saw the thing is like sick. It's dope. I love it.
Yeah. And I don't think you would have that many witnesses if the thing did more. Like, like it's one of those things where it's people kind of will, I saw something, because like it's very, it feels like it's only as voluminous as it is because it's so insignificant in terms of the actual sighting to me. And what's fun is like there were people there. Like I said, there are 24,000 people at this event, and only about 10,000 saw it. So there's a bunch of quotes from people, this is a quote from a former Vasco defender, so a guy on the opposing team, not the home team. It says, "I was on the field, but I honestly didn't see anything. It was unnoticed and insignificant. There was a comment, but I didn't follow up on it." Like, so you'll just, in articles, because it's so just like split down the middle of people who saw it and didn't, you'll just get a bunch of quotes like that, which I find really charming in a UFO article. Just like, "Oh yeah, I didn't see anything.
I didn't see shit.
Didn't really matter to me."
That's a funny statement to have to give too.
Yeah. like why do you keep talking to me about a UFO? I didn't see shit.
I just like that they elaborate on it too. It's just like, I saw absolutely nothing. There was nothing for me to see, frankly. I experienced nothing. Nothing happened that night. Yeah. Begins to get a little suspicious the more you insist that there was nothing there.
Yeah, and like that's what an article from the next day in the paper in the Campo Grande News was quoted as saying, "If only one or two people had seen it, it would be possible to doubt whether the UFO was a hallucination or unidentified natural phenomenon. However, thousands of people witnessed the object in the sky, so much so that yesterday the general topic was the strange object. For those who saw it, there is no doubt it was a flying saucer. For those who didn't see it, it was an error of interpretation." So,
oh man,
there you go.
That's a good. Hey, these are both great stories. I do believe that at least this one with the soccer stadium was very much something that I, no pun intended, was hovering around at one point and just didn't incorporate into a larger story because it's so limited, like you said.
It's so self-contained. It's not like. Because there was a UFO flap in 1977, but this is 1982.
Yes.
There's stuff that happens later. There's stuff that happens earlier. But this is kind of just a thing by itself. So, who knows? We're throwing it onto an episode that another topic took most of the time. So, there you go.
Love it. And I got to say, the more history of UFOs in Brazil I hear about, the more I would like to go to Brazil. Come to Brazil is the sentiment, I think... It would probably be fucking sick to go and do a UFO tour of Brazil, I guess.
Patreon tier. We'll do a
send Kyle to Brazil.
Yeah.
Where am I going? We've talked about sending me places before. There's so many places. We got to meet a couple goals before we do that.
I really enjoy threatening to use the Patreon to force you to do shit, just because it's very funny to me.
Thank you. I mean, look, there are limits, I will say, but if we get enough of a surge on the Patreon and we can come up with something fun for me to do, I might do it. Like go to Brazil and learn about UFOs. I would do that if it was. We're gonna have to hit a pretty big goal, I will say.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, and you're gonna have to also pay for your Duolingo subscription to learn Portuguese.
Yes,
you know.
Yes.
So. All right. You want to do a big question?
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it.
Okay. So. I was really taken upon the fact that there was such a large sporting event in which half of the people there didn't see the thing that happened. So what live public event do you think that you could be at where a UFO could appear above you and you would not really notice it in any way, shape, or form? Like, what massive public event would you be too drawn to what's happening to notice a fucking UFO?
That's really tough. Because my first instinct was like, well, maybe like a live wrestling event.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I would be also... I think I would notice a UFO. I think I would have to pay attention to a UFO during that. Especially because it's like, if you think about it, if the UFO's here to observe humanity, then they're going to need to see some of our finest warriors in the business, if you will.
They got to see the Young Bucks hit a BTE trigger, like it's part of the crucial experience.
Then I become concerned with like, well, how are they presenting? Like, are they here for Chris Jericho learning tree, or are they, is this something way cooler? I'm a little out of touch with wrestling right now.
Yeah,
but
he may or may not still come back to the company. We'll find out.
Oh shit! Did something happen?
No, it's just his contract is going to be
contract.
up. That's all it
enough.
is.
Okay, I didn't know if he I don't
Nothing
know. Was
scandalous.
that planning January 6th too, or something? But no, I mean, so I wanted to say wrestling event, but like, let me give you my real answer is there's like maybe a dozen musical acts that I could conjure up. That if I was at a live show and there was a UFO there, I would simply let me put it this way: when I'm at a music show, I lose myself to dance. I'm pretty hyper fixated on the music and the performance, to the point where it is difficult to get my attention. Last live show I went to was Callous Cowboys, and it was fucking awesome. Didn't take my eyes off the show for 1 second. So,
yeah. See, this is the difference between you and me at the moment. Is like when I go to music shows, I have a tendency to look around the room a lot. Like, I watch the band and everything, but I also just, like, my eyes wander. There's, like, people moving around everywhere. There's, like, the last one I went to, there was, or not the last one, 2 times ago, there were, like, beach balls going around and shit. Like, there's a lot of distractions. So I think that I would be more likely to see a UFO at a music festival.
Sure. Okay.
I was thinking, like, Riot Fest or some shit. But I think I would honestly, you kind of we're flipping each other here, because I think I would be more likely if I were at a wrestling show, I would be not. I wouldn't see something happening above the fucking stadium,
Well, you're always, when you're watching wrestling, I mean, you're fixated. You are running the numbers. You're doing the wrestling math in your mind. I know that your mind is in overtime when you are observing wrestling. I know that.
Alternately, like, I don't know, like, if there was like a good, even if there was like a good, like, outdoor flea market, I think I would be too distracted.
Yeah.
It has a tendency. It really comes down to how many other people around me are doing things that will be distracting. You know?
No, I can understand that.
I think that kind of fits in there. So I think I would be pretty easily distractible, honestly.
There are some events that would be like, okay, in Independence Day when everybody's on top of the skyscraper trying to welcome the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, I think if that were a thing and I was there on top of the building, I would not notice the UFOs show up, because I would be cowering because I'm so afraid of how high up I am in the sky.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't notice when the aliens, take out their big beam and blow us up or blow up the White House or whatever. So, no.
An Independence Day situation, you'd be fucked.
An Independence Day situation, I'd be fucked multiple different ways.
I mean, doesn't in Independence Day a UFO come out over a stadium and blow it up? Or is that...
I don't remember if it was a stadium, but they definitely hover over, like, tall buildings, and they blow up the White House. That's the iconic thing.
That I know, yeah.
That's iconic. That's it was sort of cunty of them.
Yeah, Roland Emmerich's cuntiest move. Will not be the name of this episode.
That would have been funny if it was. No, that's... I would be really in a bad spot in an Independence Day situation. I'm realizing how much media was about scary aliens when I was a kid, and how afraid of the idea of aliens I was for, like, half my life. It's no wonder. Like, and then by the time they're telling me, oh, you got to check out E.T. from like a decade prior to all the anti-alien propaganda films, I'm already like, oh, this thing is going to hurt me and my friends and my family.
Yep. You missed out on the post Space Brothers 80s
it's
where
true.
Aliens were cuddly.
They started to get a little cuddlier,
yeah. Anyway, do you want to take care of some business?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So if you want to follow us on social media, we're on Twitter at IGW Podcast.
We're on Blue Sky at It Gets Weird.
We're also on all your favorite podcatchers. If you listen to podcasts, look up It Gets Weird, and we're almost certainly there.
I normally would tell you to check out Facebook. You still can. We're on Facebook.com/itgetsweird, but Facebook, Twitter, these are things that I'm kind of phasing out as much as I can. So I'll mention it, but I might be phasing that out of the business end at some point. Twitch.tv/itgetsweird. Go ahead and check that out. I'm hoping to do a fun Halloweeny stream soon. So check that out if you want. I'll play some sort of horror game. We'll see what happens. email us, itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. We did just have a big mailbag episode, which I personally had a lot of fun with, a lot of interesting stuff coming from our listeners, so that was awesome. So feel free to send us some stuff. We'll still read the occasional email out on the show if you want us to, if you send us something cool. Just let us know how we should address you, and your email may end up on our podcast. So email us, itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here comes the important thing. You're going to want to go to patreon.com/itgetsweird, and you're going to want to join up on one of those fucking tiers. And I'm twiddling my mustache, but hey, you know how we were saying up at the front, like, oh, hipster in Brooklyn or whatever? Hey, if you don't join patreon.com/itgetsweird, I'm going to tie you to the railroad tracks, and I'm going to rub my hands together and cackle if you don't sign up. And then I'm going to twirl this mustache. Okay? This is a threat. You'll be like a damsel in distress. So check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We have a $1 tier. That's the tip tier. You get the satisfaction of helping out your favorite show, and we know that we're your favorite, okay? But if you want bonus content, $2 tier and the $5 tier. At the $2 tier, you get It Gets Weird TV. Niall and I talking about weird television. We're in season 3 of The X-Files. At the $5 tier, you get access to World of Weird, the show where Niall and I get to talk about whatever the hell we want to. It's a lot of fun. We talk about all kinds of stuff. Been a lot of horror movie talk lately, given the current season. So go ahead and check it out. $5, $2. You get a huge back catalog of content. It's fantastic. Check it out. We also have a Discord server that you get access to where we're talking directly to our Patreon donors. It's a lot of fun. It's a big, solid community of cool people. So check that out. You also get your own private Patreon feed, which may or may not need some technical issues ironing out, of the show 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday. So on Patreon, you can get the show 2 days before it comes out on Sundays. You get an exclusive access to it before anybody, the whole rest of the world gets access to it. So please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. It's the best place to support your favorite show. But if you can't donate money, if times are a bit tough right now, money's tight, we get it, we understand. Tell people about us. We don't advertise our show. We made a point to never do that shit because it's annoying and it sucks. So the way that we spread is by word of mouth. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird podcast.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for all of your support of the show. It really means a lot to us. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle, signing